Welcome to another episode of Others from Another Mother. And when this show first came to as an idea, the intention was to speak to musicians and people like creative folks. So it's perfect now. We're joined by my longtime friend and guitar player for the wonderful band DEVO, Mr. Josh Hager. What's happening, dude?
Thank you very much.
Welcome, buddy. How are you?
Good. I'm doing fine.
You're in LA for a little bit right now.
It's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice little break.
Yeah. I just saw you last week. DEVO played a festival here called Cruel World.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
I've seen you guys a few times now, and that was it was cool. It was like a nice overcast, kind of cold and rainy day.
Gothic, yeah.
Pretty gothic.
Yeah.
How was it for you?
It was great. Yeah, it was the last show of the tour, and various guys in the band were catching colds during it. So it was sort of like the end of a rough leg. I mean, they were good shows, but it's the getting to and getting from that's the hard part,
And you were saying that like on every tour, one person gets sick. So someone's always sick the entire tour. Was it one of those?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yep.
And now you're spending a little bit of time in LA.
Yep, just taking a little breather, and my son came out to visit, so
wonderful.
we're just going to hang by the pool.
Just met him for the first time. He's a wonderful kid.
Yeah.
Luke. Very
Shout
much
out
your
to Luke.
son. Luke, what's happening? But thank you for coming today. I mean, we're going to nerd out a little bit.
All right.
Because I didn't realize, we went to dinner last week and UFOs came up in conversation. And I didn't realize that you were a nerd like the rest of us.
Oh, yeah. I'm a super nerd.
Where did that come from for you?
I think it came from probably my dad. I would say, like, when we were younger, when we were really young, early 70s, before the whole UFO thing. I remember my dad used to tell us that he had a Navy buddy that worked at Wright Pat who guarded the bodies.
The Roswell bodies.
Or I guess they were the Roswell bodies. He told them all like certain details, like they were found with these black boxes with no moving parts that made a clicking sound, and they couldn't figure out what they were, and like just sort of little details. And this is before.
This is your dad's friend?
My dad's friend, yeah.
Oh.
I'll get his name for you.
I would love that. We'll pop it in the screen right here.
Yeah. And then my dad worked at NASA and stuff. So we were sort of, involved in the space,
Sure.
being a little kid, like around 6, 7. I mean, when I was like 6 or 7, he came in with a backstage pass kind of thing. He goes, "Come on, kids, I want to show you something." He took us out to this hangar, and it was before anybody knew what the space shuttle was. And we walked in, and there was the space shuttle and they were working on the arm and stuff. And we climbed in and sat in the cockpit, and the first thing I did was reach down and grab the ejection seat, and the guy just leapt at me, No.
That's amazing.
But
where was this?
Houston.
Okay, of course.
Yeah, that was in Houston. And then I think even in school, in middle school, when we'd have library time, I'd go right to the UFO book and just sit there and
I did the same thing.
looking at the pictures and
My elementary school had this, for some reason, this small section. It was in the space section, actually.
Yeah.
And there was 3 or 4 UFO books, and I wish I knew what they were called because I would like to get them again. I have a bunch here, but none of this is the book remember this one?
I do.
The Time Life.
I remember that one.
This book, I used to go to the library all the time.
It might have even been that book. Did it have a lot of pictures?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
I wasn't in a reading it. I was just like,
Dude, exact same.
Yeah.
I'd go there's one right there.
Yeah.
There's probably most of those, like the Billy Meyer photographs. Remember Billy Meyer?
Yep.
Who was caught faking a bunch of stuff.
Throwing stuff up in the air.
Of course.
Yeah.
So what did your dad do for NASA?
He was working on microwave satellite technology.
Whoa.
Yeah. So he was building the big dishes and stuff, I think.
Sure.
And then he wound up in microwave technology, having his own company. And then he wound up being one of the first people to do voice to text, like the Siri kind of stuff he was doing back in maybe the late 70s, early 80s.
And here we are thinking that it's new technology.
Yeah, everything,
you
know how it is with the government, everything's. And my first job when I was 14 was working for my grandfather. I had security clearance at a company called Miltope, which did parts for the Trident missiles and submarine technology and stuff. And he got me a summer job there so I can buy a guitar, And
so you had a government clearance at 14 so you could buy a guitar.
Yeah, but they thought I was 16. So how good
Oh,
is that
no problem.
clearance?
That's
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
That makes way more sense.
And all I did was just try and pick up on the secretaries and stuff. And
Did it ever work?
get a date. It did.
That a boy?
Yeah. Not fully, but like we went to the mall together.
Hey, that's when you're a kid. That's basically being
I
married.
just wanted to go to Chess King and get some new parachute pants, you know?
Were you part of that conversation today? We were talking about parachute pants. Oh, your mic's off. But parachute pants came up in conversation last week for me, and I wish they were back.
They never came back. It's like the only thing that went away and just never came back.
Yep. I got a huge rip in the leg of mine, and
Did you have red or black?
green,
Green.
like army green parachute pants, with zippers all over the place.
I had the red ones with the black zippers.
Oh, that's hot, dude.
So hot.
So good. So your dad worked for NASA. Were you living in Houston?
Yeah. Yeah, we went down. I grew up in Long Island. And then when I was 7 or 6, we went down there for like a year or 2 years and then came back and then moved to Massachusetts a couple of years later.
Mm-hmm. Where you basically grew up in Mass, right?
Basically, but I still was a New York kid.
Okay.
It was weird. You know, fist fight first day of school.
Attaboy.
You know.
Assert your dominance. Prison rules.
Well, he was making fun of me. I had Mork from Mork suspenders on and like the whole Mork from Mork thing, and I had long hair and stuff, and it didn't go well with the kind of hick Massachusetts kids in Millis.
No, they're not like that. Is Millis Western Mass?
Yeah, I guess that's sort of, well, that's like southwest.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
below Framingham.
So did your I'm so interested by I didn't know your dad worked for NASA. So did your dad ever talk about UFOs or anything like mysteries of space? Was he an inquisitive guy as well?
Yeah, he was. I can't remember if he actually saw a video or his friend, a UFO on the Brooklyn Bridge, like hovering next to Brooklyn. I remember him telling me a story about that. I don't remember if it was him or a friend of his. But yeah, he was into it. You know, and then like you got to remember at the time it was like 1976, 77, like Star Wars, and we were watching Star Trek was our.
That was the one.
I still put it on. Like whenever I want to chill out, I just put on old Star Trek and leave it.
That's your comfort. That's your blanket.
The Technicolor. I think it's the colors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so 77, Star Wars, and also Close Encounters came out.
Close Encounters, and then Battlestar Galactica after. And, you know, it was like.
So it's been part of your life
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, I think so.
And I'm so intrigued. I want to know more about this Wright Pat thing. I'm so intrigued by this.
Yeah, we could have my dad on the show.
Is he still around?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That would be great. Can you get him over here tonight?
Yeah. Actually, let's get him on the phone.
We probably could, actually. It might be fun to do at some point. So when you think about it, like, what is it about UFOs that really intrigues you? Like, what part of it interests you? Is it like the actual craft? Is it the bodies? Is it like, what are they doing here? Is it where are they from? Like, what is the thing that keeps you coming back to it?
I think it's an early, like, I just don't like being lied to.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And I think that annoys me when people, which is kind of ironic since well, anyway, I'll leave that out of the story. But
because you're a horrendous liar?
No, because I know somebody who I was very involved with, but who turned out to be like pathological. But
I've had that as well.
Yeah.
Yep. It sucks.
But yeah, I think it was the fact that like, you know, when like you have an innate sort of reaction to something like, oh, that makes sense. That could be real. Like, you know, and then, you know, like you just want to know because you're thinking like, this is possible. It could be real. There's too many reports and too many people have died trying to report it. And, you know,
mm-hmm.
And I think it's just fascinating that the technology, I was kind of fascinated, like, okay, how do these things run? And they're not using gas, you know, and
right.
And I wonder what it's like to meet an alien, and are there aliens? And I started thinking like, cause you know, throughout your life, you kind of, if you're semi-intuitive, you meet people that you're just like, is that person even human? Like their whole vibe is different, you know?
They look different. There's a weird thing about them. They put out some weird energy.
Yeah. That sort of thing, you know, that's happened a couple times throughout life. And
do you feel like you may have met someone who possibly wasn't from here?
Most likely at some point.
Actually, you've had some really cool musical ventures in your life. Like you started Elevator Drops, which is a really cool band in Boston. Like
the most erased band in Boston. That's what we're known as.
Explain what you mean by that.
Well, if you go on the internet and you go top 100 bands of the 90s from Boston, there'll be everybody on it. Like bands that played one night on a Monday at TT's, nowhere. We're not on any of those lists. Anybody writes a book about Boston and the whole scene and everything, we're just not in there at all.
Why do you think that is?
Oh, people hated us. They hated us. We were like the merry pranksters, You
really were.
Yeah.
You told me a really funny story the other night about, there's another great Boston band, Letters to Cleo.
Yeah.
Can you please tell the story about what you did?
I can't say I did it, because I really like those guys.
The collective of Elevator Drops.
I think it was one of those things where they were on tour and we wanted to book a show at the Middle East, and then
which is a club in Boston.
Yeah. And, fairly large downstairs. And we booked it as what looked like a typo of their name, Letters to Leo. And then I think we went out and played I'm Leaving on a Jet Plane over and 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 over until the entire place emptied out. And then we were like, good night.
It's so great, dude.
It was, the band was sort of performance art.
Yeah.
It was like Dada kind of, and it was, I didn't have anything, I really liked the guys in that band. I'm still friends with a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're 23 and you're just, you're just kind of having fun, and, you don't really think that it's at somebody else's expense at the time. And, when you grow up later, you're like, oh, I'm sorry.
Of course. I'm an adult now.
Yeah, like that was kind of shitty of us to do.
But you got to admit it was fun.
But there were so many things. Like we would, we got a chance to go on tour with Blur.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the first thing we do? We come out with a light up Oasis kick drum, just lighting up through the whole set. And one of the members is out there plastering their tour bus with Oasis stickers. And
if anyone listening is under the age of 35, Blur and Oasis were like mortal enemies.
Mortal enemies.
Like,
yeah,
one of the best feuds of our lifetime as far as bands are concerned.
Yeah,
I feel like. And
we weren't really fans of either at the time. We were just sort of like thought it was ridiculous and funny, and it was more of we were doing it more out of humor than to hurt anybody. We just thought it was hilarious. We thought things were hilarious.
You did it to make yourselves laugh.
We did it to make ourselves like sore in the throat laughing. Like, and that's kind of, in a way, that band, the three of us in a room together, was just pure laughter. That's what made that band. We were just like a comedy troupe who happened to play music.
Right.
The
kids in the hall, if they could play instruments or something.
Right. Or something like that,
Yeah. And after that, you've had your own solo project, Garvey J, which is another kind of great project that you've had.
Yeah, that was just to keep busy, kind of like, had a bunch of songs that kept building up. And then there was like an early incarnation of that band. And then it kind of evolved a little bit. And then, we did the Rumble and all that stuff. And then after that, I kind of just burnt on it. I was like, I can't do this. I mean, I already did it. Like, you go through the scene once, then you go back and start again and make your way through the scene again. It's like, but at the same time, I quit. I just stopped. And then a week later, Lance, our mutual friend, calls me up and he goes, hey, I remember I was in bed with a fever. He goes, hey, I got a friend, he just moved to town and he's bored and he's looking for people to play with, and and he plays in this band New Order. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, and I had a studio downstairs in this house. So Tom Chapman shows up at my door.
Dear Tom.
Dear Tom. I love Tom.
Yep.
And it's like a suburban house, so it looks totally normal. So he's all freaked out, And then you go downstairs and it's like my old loft from Boston. Like all my shit from my loft was in the basement. So it was like, oh, different world, And that night we just wrote a song and recorded it, and and we wound up getting a bunch of people involved: Nick McCabe and Denise Johnson and Phil Cunningham and Jeff Friedel, and then wound up getting signed to Mute Records, Daniel Miller's label. And then I was going over to England a lot to do that. We were touring England and Italy. And then COVID hit, like right after that that sort of
Is this this is Shadow Party?
Shadow Party, yeah.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and then Denise passed away. Unfortunately, she was my favorite. I love Denise.
Sorry to hear that.
And it just sort of, Tom, he wound up putting a band together with Phil, and they're still playing. They're called Sea Fever. And I basically just kept recording and, touring with DEVO and all that. So
let's talk about DEVO a little bit.
Who?
DEVO.
Oh, right.
The band DEVO.
Yes.
You've been with DEVO for what, like 13, 14 years now?
I think it's like
12?
11 or 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you a fan of DEVO growing up?
I was a huge DEVO fan. Yeah, I was mesmerized by DEVO twice. So I was like 10 or 12, where my friend Paul Koss turned me on to the records, Are We Not Men? And I think it was just Are We Not Men and maybe Freedom of Choice at the time. And then, I was into it, but no more into it maybe than most people back then. And then later, around the Elevator Drops period, a friend of mine, Darren Burke, left this video cassette of Men Who Make the Music, the movie. And I watched that. It was like a whole new world. All these characters. You had General Boy and Boogie Boy and Rod Reuter. And it just became an obsession, I felt like a real connection with the DNA of DEVO. It was sort of very similar to Elevator Drops. And they have, like, in person,
sure.
like a similar sense of humor. Like, they're funny guys too.
Jerry is the singer bass player for one of the singers and bass players and one of the founders.
Yeah.
A really funny man.
Super funny.
And has his view of the world. I could hear him. I could listen to him talk for hours. And I'm sure.
It's great.
Yeah.
All of them though, like Bob's funny, Mark's funny.
Mm-hmm.
We have a good time.
You guys ever talk UFOs with those guys?
I have with Jerry a little bit. I remember buying him a book on Nazi UFO stuff.
There's a lot there.
Yeah, the Glock and all that.
Of course,
stuff.
the bell.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you believe that the Nazis had shit going on with UFOs?
Well, I mean, could be. Who knows? It's one of those.
That's the fun.
I'm not the kind of person that rules things out right away or accepts them. You know what I mean? I kind of hover in that, like, if there's proof that it doesn't exist, fine. And if it does exist, fine. But until then, it could go either way,
I've found since I was a kid that my thoughts on the whole thing fluctuate all the time based on new testimonies and new evidence.
Or people that turn out to be frauds.
Sure. Yeah, we're talking recently, and you just watched today. Did you finish both episodes of Dark Alliance?
Just the first one.
Okay.
That's all I needed.
That's great. So our friend Darcy Weir, who had on the show a little while ago, made this series. There was this, when YouTube first started going off, it was so fun for everybody. But like I'm a UFO nut since I was 8 years old.
Right.
So to be able to pull up like interviews with UFO experiencers and military folks, and like back then the Stephen Greer stuff, and all the Bob Lazar interviews. Like I could watch them. I can watch these anytime I want. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And it kind of like reignited this fire in me.
Phil
Schneider, dude.
I went down the underground, the
Dumbs.
Yeah.
Deep underground military base.
There's one right up the street from me, I found out.
Wait, in Mass?
In Maynard.
Oh,
it's a FEMA underground base.
The sticker right here says only in Maynard.
Only in Maynard.
Yep.
It's heavily guarded too.
Wait, are you shitting me?
No, it's right where where they have the bunkers? There's that wildlife refuge, and it's got all the ammunition bunkers along the pathway.
No. Where about like
that would be
for anyone listening, this is right kind of where I
Hudson
grew up.
Road.
Okay.
So let's say you're going from Hudson towards Sudbury.
Okay, yeah,
and
sure.
then it gets really curvy.
Yeah.
That one section there's the fireman's sort of college there.
Okay.
Right after that, you go left, and it's like these paths, and it has all these bunkers built into the hills, and then behind that is the FEMA base.
Oh shit!
So this was like a big World War II munition storage area.
There's a guy. I got to send this video. You may know him. Do you follow Gerb on YouTube?
No.
It's this guy who makes these, like, he's very prolific, but he makes these like 1.5 to 2 hour, really in depth, high quality documentaries, like one a month. But he did one about Dumbs recently that everyone's kind of raving about. It's fantastic.
Really?
And he's basically pieced together that there are underground tunnels from the West Coast to the East Coast,
Maglev
like
trains.
the whole way through.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating shit.
And then you start getting into like, then it, the rabbit hole, how it goes. And I'm like, okay, Wormtown, Worcester has tunnels underneath. And there's all these rumors of tunnels. And then there's rumors of tunnels under LA from Wilshire all the way down to downtown that the lizard people live in.
Well, that's the moth people, right? Or the mole people.
The mole people.
The mole people. These like subterranean, like homeless folks, or not homeless, they live underground, but like that never come up. They come up to like steal food at night or shit, but they live like under Los Angeles.
Did you ever get into like the Bridgewater Triangle and all that stuff?
I've been through all of it. I've been through all of it. Which is like, explain that to people.
Well, isn't it? It's just an area of Bridgewater, and
in Massachusetts,
and there's like all kinds of creatures, right? Like there's the Mothman, and
a lot of UFO sightings,
a lot of weird stuff.
Yeah, when I was 16, I remember my girlfriend's father was giving me a ride home from her house, and it was like, I don't know, maybe 10 p.m. I don't know what time of year, but I saw just a perfect triangle, like kind of over my house, like a yellow light in each corner with these like blue diagonal slit lines between the yellow lights.
And it was upright, or
it was up above me, so I could see the bottom of it.
Oh, gotcha.
Tilted a little bit.
Yeah.
But I saw it clear as could be for, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 seconds, which really is kind of a long time to see something.
Yeah.
And I grew up right near Fort Devens, and come to find out, like
you grew up that way. Okay.
may have been testing. It could have been something that was ours. I don't know, but that's part of the fun and the mystery.
I keep with the triangles, for some reason, my instinct just tells me that's ours.
How come?
I don't know why. It just seems too, I don't know. Like, I always think of if UFOs as having like almost like an electromagnetic field like around them and blurring, bending light and all that stuff.
Which is why they're hard to photograph. They say, right?
And the black triangles are like, they look like a military, perfectly clear. Remember who saw one? Sonny Thompson. I was doing a session with the guy who taught Prince how to play.
Okay.
And he said
he did a pretty good job, by the way.
He was amazing. He's amazing. And he said one just went right over his car, just silently took off.
So weird.
Yeah.
So strange. I mean, there's a lot of speculation that the triangles are ARVs, the alien reproduction vehicle, that there is, NHI triangles, but that we've kind of made our own, which I can get down with that.
Right.
But it definitely, when I saw it, this is before I realized that we were like recreating our own, but it definitely was a very weird feeling. Just a very, very odd feeling.
It's like your reality just shifts.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Because I already believed, I was already like all in on it.
Yeah.
But when you finally see something, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
That's very, very strange. And that's definitely like nothing I've ever seen before. But the rabbit holes are the best.
Oh man.
So the Project Camelot, we're talking about Project Camelot.
Yeah.
And like Corey Goode and David Wilcock. So this Dark Alliance doc, was there a time when you were like all in on those guys? Or
yeah, like anything, like not all in, but I remember my friend Tony turned me on. He's like, you got to check this stuff out. And I remember as a story, like as a sci-fi or whatever, I was
it's perfect.
I was like, this is great. Oh my God. And then you start like, wow, what if this is true? And what if all the people that are saying he's a fraud are like, how it flips, like they're the cabal,
Right.
you know what I mean?
That's them.
They're the bad people. And, but then as I was, I even subscribed the guy, to watch it. And there was something, I think it was Wilcox that kind of Wilcock. Yeah. That kind of made me like, first. And then Corey Goode, I was like, something's not right here, And then I unsubscribed to Gaia and just forgot about it.
Sure. I remember a story of Wilcock watching a video where he was like, yeah, we have these jump rooms that are all over the world. There's one in China. There's one in the U.S.
666 Sepulveda.
There's supposed to be a jump room there?
Yeah, that's the Andrew Basiago, the time traveler. You ever heard his whole thing?
No, tell me.
Where he went back to Gettysburg, and there's a picture of him as a little kid with the big shoes, and he tells this whole thing about how he had to keep going back to the Lincoln assassination, but it was different, a little different every time. And the jump room was at 999 Sepulveda by the airport. They had the jump room in there so that when you were coming in, you'd see it as 666.
In LA. No shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Wilcock would talk about these jump rooms where like, you know, we've been colonizing Mars for years. Like you can get one of these jump
Obama
rooms.
was with me.
Oh, did he say
Remember
that?
that? Corey Good said that Barack Obama was one of the people that was fighting with him on Mars.
Oh my God.
That's when I was kind of like, yeah. They called him Barry back then.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. His name wasn't Barack. It was Barry, and he was in the secret space program too. Are we allowed to say that?
Of course we can.
We can beep it out.
No, we can do it. No, we can say it.
Oh, we can?
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
Yeah. Why can't we?
Because in that documentary, they kept beeping it out because it
Oh.
was his intellectual property, and they didn't want to get sued.
Oh, that's true. Secret space program.
SSP.
SSP. There you
Yeah.
go. But jump rooms to Mars. We've been colonizing Mars, and at that point, I was like, this seems a bit much. And like the looking glass technology, and
Oh, yeah.
the 20 and back, where you go to space and serve in some intergalactic army for 20 years. And
But you take it a step further and you think, okay, so let's say those guys are full of shit. What if somebody put them in there as like, you know, just disinformation to sort of get everyone's attention off of that sort of thing, that maybe there's a little grain of truth to it and they're exaggerating it. It's sort of like, I think of flat earthers. I think they were put out there to make everyone look loony and like, oh yeah, you were into that? Like,
you think?
I don't know. It just seems like,
Because I've talked to some in real life.
do they really, is there any?
The one in particular I spoke to,
Yeah.
like everything in me believes that he believed it. And like, it's so weird to talk to someone like that because it's like, how do you believe that? Like literally, how do you believe that?
Right. Like if you look over the horizon
Like,
and the Earth
and like
curves.
that, no, that's not true. And like, they think that every pilot is lying and like that we've never been to space. We can't leave the atmosphere because of radiation. We've never been to the moon. And then you're like, well, how come when you look at the moon, you always see it as a circle? Like, are we just seeing the flat part of it? And they're
Right.
like, yes.
Well, the moon's a whole other thing, right? Where
Oh,
it's
the moon.
just always aimed at in.
Someone made a comment, and I think I read it last year or 2 years ago, where it feels like the moon was parked there.
Do you ever get
Specifically
into like the
parked there.
remote viewing guys? Like
Yeah, Joe McMoneagle and Pat
and
Price and
who was the one before? The one that wrote the book Penetration.
I don't know.
Ingo Swann.
Ingo Swann, of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
And his whole, remote viewing of the moon and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And McMoneagle remote viewed the moon, didn't he?
He remote viewed Mars.
Mars, and he went back in time. Right?
Like was it 5 million or 1 million years ago?
Right.
100 million years ago?
and
or
they were
something?
in stasis in the pyramids. Yeah,
He is someone who I listen to when he talks.
he's
Like,
one of the top dudes, right? Is he still alive?
he's still alive.
Wow.
He just did a really good. He's done a couple fantastic interviews in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But his remote viewing of Mars has had me riveted.
And he had that one where he's in Vietnam and that shadow person comes and yeah.
What do you think of that kind of stuff? Do you believe in remote viewing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Have you ever tried to do it?
Not deliberately, but I've definitely had flashes of things that happened and things like that, like premonition kind of stuff.
That's different than
Traveling.
than deja vu.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Or like that space when you're taking a nap, like that real tight space between sleep and awake, and you can actually go somewhere else. I've done that before.
On purpose.
Yeah, tried anyway.
And you had results?
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Nothing's crazy, just like, going to your girlfriend's house and telling her what book's on the table kind of thing. Or
You did that.
yeah.
And it worked.
It works.
That's incredible.
But it was only just in that little space. I couldn't do it any other time. In that space between awake and asleep, I can get to a place.
Do you meditate?
Sort of, yeah.
And I can't believe you haven't tried it again. I feel like if I did that and it worked, that would become like my life.
Right.
Although I did. I mean, I told you. Did I tell you? I told you that I kind of had a contact event in 2023.
Yeah.
And I've been, I think you're probably the same as me, where since I was a kid, I would look at the stars and like ask, like, I would love to see something. Like, let me see something.
Yeah.
And when it finally happens, and you get I got like a telepathic message and the whole thing, and I have not been able to get it back since. And I don't know what was so special about that moment, but although I'm not trying.
It makes you realize like something's there.
That's the thing. It's like, like I said before, I've known this stuff is real my whole life. I know it because it's obvious to me. But at a certain point, you just then you know it.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different thing. Like,
It
there's
leads
no
you
more
down-
convincing.
That sort of led me down a whole different, like I was telling you earlier about the Jane Roberts stuff, like Seth Speaks, like that whole series of books.
Explain what that is.
So she would channel Seth and write these books like Seth Speaks, Nature, Personal Reality.
And Seth was apparently an alien being, right?
Or just an entity, not necessarily an alien,
Okay.
just an out of body entity that is incarnated at different times or whatever. And I remember at first being like, this is bullshit. But like, I was bored, and I think I was in Nashville, stuck in the house with Matt Sharp doing a record, and I started reading. I think it was The Nature of Personal Reality, the second book. And as I was reading it, like the entire thing just started resonating with me. Like, yeah, I knew that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I thought that, like, and then I got deeper and deeper into it. And it was all about reality creation and how consciousness, your thoughts and intents can actually create reality, like for real. And that's sort of been my mindset ever since, where and I hate to use the word manifest because everyone uses that word now, but
There's something to it.
like I think of things as like infinite fractals of timelines, choices, things like that. And you're able to like kind of guide it a little bit, different timelines, different choices, thoughts, intentions to get where you want to be, or,
This timeline stuff has become a pretty hot topic lately. Have you felt that way for a long time? That there's
definitely. Yeah. I've seen it a lot of times, thinking something, making it happen. It happens, over and over and over again.
When did you realize you could do that?
Probably late 20s. So, like when I was 28 or something.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
But I realized I was already doing it. I just didn't know what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Now, do you still do it now? Like, do you do it specifically? Like, do you
All the time.
You do?
All the time.
Like daily, weekly, or
Every minute of every day.
really?
All the time.
That's incredible.
Thoughts and intentions, create reality. It's weird.
It's very, very weird. But I think there's a real overlap with consciousness and UFOs, which is like
I think it's more than an overlap. I think it's
everything.
It's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of coming to the forefront over the last few years. I mean, it's been talked about for decades, but
Yeah.
I think people are really taking that serious now.
Yeah.
It's something that I kind of like, I've known about it for a long time, but never really put a whole lot of thought into like,
No pun
what is
intended.
right. Like, what is consciousness? Is it, I just didn't want to like accept that everything is part of one collective consciousness
Yeah.
that kind of like drops a little bit into your body, drops a little bit into my body.
But it's able to see through your eyes and develop, and observe all that and take it all in. But yeah, maybe it's just all one thing,
It would make sense.
which is fine because I'm me. You're still you.
Right.
Yeah.
But then who is you? Who am I? What does that even mean?
I know.
Are we actually separate
not
things? Are we not men? We are DEVO. It's a mind fuck, dude. Have you ever done, you don't have to say it if you don't want to, but are you a drug guy at all? Have you ever been like a drug guy as far as like
A long time ago,
mushrooms
not
or
a heavy, like mushrooms or at one time LSD or weed or whatever. Yeah. And a lot of that sort of Terrence McKenna sort of vibe, kind of picked up on a lot of that, where the mushrooms might not even be from here, it might be part of our evolution. Or
someone has said, that they were put here as like a language tool, like almost like a translator,
right.
as a way to like speak to something higher than us or different than us or tap into a whole new thing.
Just alter our perception. Yeah.
Have you ever done DMT?
No.
I've started experimenting lightly with it recently, and I have.
Did you meet the alien?
No, I didn't have a full breakthrough yet,
Yeah.
but I plan on it. But I've had two. You're supposed to like set an intention as to what you want to find out. Excuse me, when you do it, and my dad passed away a few months ago, and when he was getting ready to die, the first time I did DMT, I kind of asked it to like give me the tools to kind of help get through this and to help people around me that need it. Like, give me the tools to help others and myself get through this. And I took the DMT, and I absolutely went to a different place. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that there's something to it.
Right.
Where like it didn't fully work for me, but I was definitely, you kind of like sink into the couch. You feel like you're 1,000,000 pounds. And I felt my consciousness like kind of pull out of my body. And I kept just being like, go ahead. It's okay. Go. Mm-hmm. And it felt like, I try to compare it to like trying to take your shoe off with the laces still tied. Like it's hard, but you can still do it. But once it goes out. Yeah. And I definitely went to a place, and this place was aware of me. It knew I was there. And it kind of said to me, like I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I learned how to like get a yes or no answer from this place. And it basically told me that, thank you for coming. You're not focused enough to do this yet, but look around, enjoy your time, and come back another time. We'll try again. Wow. But it was like, yeah. So there, I don't know. It's so interesting.
Do you ever do any lucid dreaming, any of that stuff?
When I was younger, I could do it all the time.
Bob Monroe.
Yep. Have you ever, do you do any of the gateway stuff? Have you tried? You do.
Yeah. And I keep a dream journal.
You do.
Which is the best thing ever. Cause if you get in the habit of writing stuff down the minute you wake up as much as you can, or talking to a tape recorder, what you'll have at the end of the year or whatever are these crazy books of like cool stories that you don't remember at all. And they're so like, I went back and did this thing where I scanned all of my journals last year. I was bored. I was at home and I have boxes of stuff, and I scanned all the journals in, and then I scanned the dream journals, and then I kind of cross-referenced them.
You should drop them into ChatGPT and have it do a full
that's a good
deep
idea.
Dive of themes and like overlapping things, what it might mean.
Like, it was giving me messages before things happened, and it was there was this one. I mean, I don't know, dreams, or I was moving to LA.
This is a dream.
This is it's for real.
Oh, okay.
I was driving to LA in my van, and I pulled off the side of the road and fell asleep, but I wasn't asleep, and then saw these women kind of come around and kind of take me out of the car and into this sort of like Hollywood party. And it was very like David Lynch and dark. And then I'm hanging out, and there's these beautiful women and stuff. And then one of them corners me, and I realized that they were all like demons, and they were there to keep me in LA and keep me, trap my soul and all this stuff. And I remember like I beamed like kind of like Tiger Belly there. I was like, and blew a hole through the wall and got out of there.
Hell yeah, dude.
But it was sort of like a precursor to like things that happened to me when I got there, and it was sort of warning me, probably my subconscious or whatever. But once you write the stuff down, it's great to have as a resource, just help them figure things out.
How long have you been keeping a dream journal for?
Probably since 90s, I would say.
Oh, a long time.
Yeah.
That's such a great idea. I don't dream anymore.
You don't think you do?
No. Well, I started taking edibles when I was 36, and in the last year, I've been taking a lot of them, and I found out that like it's like a dream suppressant. Oh. Or maybe I just don't remember them.
Do you ever do melatonin?
I used to, but
that's a dream booster.
Yeah, but edibles are more fun.
Speedball.
A dream speedball. Yeah. But I'm taking a little break from edibles, and my dreams have been coming back. And they are high anxiety, like fear, like being chased, people trying to kill me. Yep. And I've been loving it. It's weird, but
it's there for a reason. It's helping you somehow,
True.
Process.
Well, that's what they say, is that you work through a lot of shit in your dream world. Yeah. Have you ever had like out of body stuff?
Yeah, like lucid dreaming, you mean? Like floating?
No, well, I guess so. Like, in my mind, lucid dreaming is when you're dreaming and you're dreaming, and you can fly and float and do whatever.
Yeah. No out of body kind of stuff like that. Other than that, like quick remote viewing kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really feel out of body. It's hard to explain.
I meant to ask you, what was your girlfriend's response when you did that?
She didn't believe me. Yeah.
But you named the book or whatever
Yeah,
it was.
You must have sent somebody in to look at it, or like just didn't, just whatever.
Forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it. So do you still lucid dream?
Not as much. Yeah.
I used to love it. I mean, I used to be fully aware that I'm dreaming. I'm like, oh wait, I can do whatever I want right now. This is fantastic.
Crazy, right? Yeah.
It was really great. And
maybe that's reality, and this is the dream.
I'm starting to wonder that kind of stuff. Of
like when people talk about like, oh, the Matrix and all that, like, could be. Like I don't have that. Like no, it's like could be. We could be. Our consciousness could be trapped in this whatever 3D.
Do you know who Danny Goler is?
Mm-mm.
Danny Goler is he lives in L.A. He's just obsessed with like the mind and what is consciousness, what is all this stuff, and he figured out this experiment on his own. I'll show you a trailer of it. Actually, I'm going to show you the trailer, and then we'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay.
Folks, we have not yet had any kind of paid advertising on this podcast. That doesn't mean people don't try, but we have been approached by someone doing something very, very cool. Mitch Honstetter has a small jewelry design business called Earthen Objects Jewelry. And the good news for us? They specialize in UAP and UFO pendants. Check out the show description for a link to Earthen Objects Jewelry and pick a pendant that works for you. That's Earthen Objects Jewelry. These things are awesome. So this guy has now tested it with over 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And all 1,000 see this code. And if you can move the laser and it changes. So it's not like it's not something in the light.
Yeah.
It blows my fucking mind.
You got to wonder if it's a discovery or a rediscovery.
What do you mean?
Well, just it's like, what's his name? Graham
Hancock?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like his whole thing with the shamanism going all the way back, the drugs that the Egyptians took or the Native Americans or,
sure.
I mean, they've been doing DMT thousands of years, right?
Yeah. Yep. Or peyote and all kinds of stuff like that. Ayahuasca and
yeah.
But this guy lives in. I want to talk to this guy. I want to try it out. But the simulation theory is something that I always like just shit on. I'm like, that's so ridiculous. We're not a simulation. But
how would we know?
Right. As time goes on, someone pointed out, someone that did that experiment said that they feel like we are peeking through into real reality at our makers. Like when we do that, we're looking at this code.
Yeah.
On the other side of that is something that maybe created us just watching us.
Yeah.
And we're becoming self-aware of oh, maybe we're not real people, whatever that is, or whatever.
I remember when I was younger, I always thought of reality as like you're this is reality. And that's what's poking through, just a little hint of what you are,
Sure. I mean, we already know how much our brain filters out so much of what we see. There's so much more going on.
Oh, yeah. When you do LSD, it's like
I've never done it.
Pops the filter off, and it's like all this stuff that's being filtered out that you don't even see, And
they say it's filtered out just so we can function as
survive
people,
as
live
hunter gatherers or whatever. Yeah, eyes straight ahead, and
it's wild stuff.
And
yep.
Yeah,
I find myself recently just going more and more just on this adventure of I don't know anything, so just give me all the information, kind of like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Of just let me hear everything and let me filter through it, because clearly we honestly don't know shit. I don't think
that's why I go through over different periods. I've gone through the whole Knights Templar thing, the whole Edgar Casey thing, like every rabbit hole I could get my hands on to try and form a picture somehow out of little bits of all of it,
Mm-hmm.
But never really, I'm a firm believer in this, and this is no dogma involved. Just if it's not proven, yeah.
So where are you at now? What do you think UFOs are? What do you think if aliens could be? Where are you at currently?
Well, I mean, we don't know much about the oceans,
That's where I'm at.
I would say, look there for starters, but I think they've been around, before us. I think maybe they even genetically engineered us. I mean, you look at, I went through the whole Zacharias Sitchin thing with the whole Sumerian and then his translation, mistranslate. I don't know. But it seems like there's some stories that do tie together in different religions and stuff like that, where maybe we were altered.
Mm-hmm.
At something, they're just keeping an eye on the experiment, or maybe they altered us to harvest something from us, and then maybe there's good aliens and bad aliens, and maybe there's, lizard-like creatures.
That's another one that as a kid I was like, a human, like 6 foot tall reptiles? I don't think so. But why not?
Well, you look at some of the, South American gods were reptile or reptilians, and dragons and all the symbolism in Europe. And, it's been there for a while.
A lot of connections being made between the Greek gods, and maybe that's what we consider aliens now, is that they thought there were these, these gods, which they would be. I mean, even if they came down now, I think there'd be a lot of people that would religify those beings.
That's another thing I always said to, I think Jerry and I might have been talking about that, how the whole entertainment industry is like that. People are predisposed to worship. And they worship celebrities because they don't have like religious figures to worship anymore, or there's like this sense of worship that's like built in to people in a way.
Wonder where that comes from.
Probably aliens.
Simple answer. It's aliens. It's aliens.
It's aliens, man.
It's so fascinating. Yeah, the ocean one makes the most sense. I mean, we don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
There are so many Navy people have seen stuff for years.
Oh, yeah.
Like a friend of mine who is connected to the Jane's Addiction camp. He doesn't want to speak publicly yet, but he's a former Navy dude. Mm-hmm. And in 1994, I believe, was on, I know the ship, I'm not going to say the ship yet, but he was on like night duty, just kind of on the deck, and watched this football field sized, like orange light come out of the ocean.
Yeah.
And just keep pace with their ship, like easy as could be, and then just vanished up into the sky. And I think the next day when they got to port, or maybe a helicopter landed, but these same old story you always hear. These guys came on the ship, took all the computer stuff.
See that?
Yeah, took all the shit, told everyone that don't say a word.
Yeah.
And we just hear there's too many of those stories.
That's how
where
William Cooper got started, right?
Is that the Behold the Pale Horse guy?
Yeah. He was in the Navy and something came out of the water in front of his ship. And
how many of those stories? I mean, you'd think that it only takes one of these claims for it to be true.
But there's no proof. Like,
well,
what are you going to do?
There is proof, but we just can't see it.
Right.
Like there's radar data, there's video data, there's
But I don't think any of that matters anymore to people. I think they want a dead alien body on the table in front of them.
I agree.
Or an alien ship to land in the park. Like,
yep.
With Klaatu.
Yeah.
I
just had this talk yesterday with someone, like with what generative AI is doing now. Like
now it's like, forget it. Yeah.
In the last 2 weeks, we've gotten to a point where they're making videos and dialogue that is indiscernible from real life.
What better way to put out disinformation, right?
No shit. But now we're at the point where like seeing is not really believing for a lot of people. And it's a cliche, but people said if it's blurry, it's a hoax. If it's too clear, it's a hoax. It's like, well,
but look at the drone thing that happened. Like, things happen and sometimes they get reported on, but it just goes away to the next news stories over here and everybody look over here and everyone forgets about it. Like, do people still care what happened? Like, there were drones over nuclear installations and some of them were balls of light. Some of them looked like actual drones that were like the size of a SUV.
And some, when approached, would vanish out of thin air.
Right. Or
just
going
disappear.
Into the ocean, out of the ocean.
Yeah.
Like, that should cause some serious concern.
Why do you think it doesn't?
Because Trump came out and said, "Nah, don't worry about it. They're friendly." And look the other way. And then we're
that might work for his people, but even the people that don't like Trump, like, just don't. I don't know why it's not the most interesting thing to everybody.
Or even, a question that's asked. Like, okay, what was that?
Okay, maybe you don't like aliens, but like there is things that are
That could be a real threat.
Spending a lot of time over military installations
That came out of the water.
Yes,
Over
and over again. And like there's been people getting injuries, like John Burroughs in 1980 in Rendlesham Forest.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He touched it.
He touched it.
Yeah.
And when he touched it, he got like a download of like this crazy code and ones and zeros and all kinds of shit, and had no idea what it all was, and wrote it all down. And I forget what it had, but it was real science that he just got downloaded into his body, and he got really, really ill.
Wow.
And got tested, went to the hospital and got tested, and his results from his physicals and from all of his tests, his results were classified, and even he couldn't see his own medical records. They were classified to him. And John McCain, before he died, is the person that finally got him health coverage and health benefits for an injury due to interaction with a UAP.
Yeah.
It's the first time in history that's ever happened.
Wow.
But he just put out an op-ed yesterday, John Burroughs, and just calling for like, we need to take care of people that have these interactions. This is a real thing.
Yeah.
We need to get past this. Like there are service men and women that are getting injured, maybe not on purpose. I'm not saying it's like a malevolent thing.
Too close to the. Yeah.
We don't know how they operate, or I mean, someone might, but there's something that happens when you can get injured by these things.
Yeah.
And that needs to be acknowledged, and people need to be taken care of.
Well, if you're standing next to a high-powered electromagnetic field, it's got to have some effect on.
Sure. Absolutely. And then, and he's kind of one of those whistleblowers that comes forward and like, got panned for decades, and then come to find out like, no, he's actually getting government treatment for injuries due to UFO. And you keep up on the whistleblower stuff?
I haven't lately, but I think I was just sort of disillusioned a bit. Like, okay, there they. Oh, you got to go into a private skiff to talk about that. Oh, okay, and then like nothing. Then you don't hear anything, and then okay, the next one or whatever. It just seemed like a lot of nothing. I mean, I get it's important, and these people are coming out and risking stuff, but it's like, all right, well, give us some information.
Yeah. Yep.
It's frustrating.
It is frustrating, and it's like, I know it's like illegal to disclose classified information to the public,
but anything could be made classified.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes in these skiffs, what they'll do is they'll come in, ask you what you know, and you tell them what you know.
Yeah.
And then they classify what you just told them, so now you can't talk about it.
It's the trap.
They'll catch you a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a real risky business doing that kind of stuff.
And what do you think is the national security emergency that they cannot talk about?
As far as like why won't they discuss UFOs publicly?
Yeah, extraterrestrials, as the guy on Ancient Aliens calls them. Sorry,
I think David Grush put it pretty clearly that there is an arms race between Russia, China, and the U.S.
Okay.
All three of those countries seemingly having crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs.
Right.
And the first one of those countries to crack the technology wins. And then it's game over as far as warfare. Once you've mastered anti-gravity and you can be in China and have a ship or some kind of weapon appear over the White House in 5 seconds.
They did that in the 50s, remember? All those UFOs over the White House.
Yeah, 1952. I think it was the flap.
Yeah.
But if another country can harness that technology and weaponize it, which is exactly what we will do and probably have done. Yeah. The first country that has that and acts on it, it is game over. So I think that's kind of
that would be the Germans in Antarctica.
That's another wormhole to go down, a rabbit hole to go down. But it's scary. I mean, I think the technology clearly could be used for good, but humans don't tend to do things very well for the good.
The guy that made the car that ran on water was poisoned at a diner.
Yeah.
And, like stuff like Tesla's stuff was confiscated by Trump's uncle. That whole thing.
Nikolai Tesla.
Yeah.
Yes. His grandfather had a part of it, right? He was
in charge of the whole, going in there and getting all the boxes of stuff and
it's kind of emerging more and more now that we may have actually cracked anti-gravity way longer ago than we thought we did.
Yeah.
And like this, Matthew Brown, the new kind of whistleblower that Jeremy Cormel and George Knapp brought forward. He's the guy that wrote the Immaculate Constellation.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I just watched those yesterday.
Yep, they're great. And that's when I went to Washington for the hearing. It was mostly about that document. But he was saying that, and also Harold Malmgren. Did you watch his interview?
No.
So he was the advisor to JFK and 3 other presidents.
Okay.
Who kind of had some UFO run-ins. He was like the guy that kind of helped stop the Cuban Missile Crisis.
All right.
Anyway, he was talking about this, like him and Matt Brown have both been speaking about this like classified math and classified science where major physics breakthroughs were made in probably in universities.
Yep.
And then just stolen and tucked away and made black projects where like you can no longer study this.
Right.
And which seems insane until you really look at it and it's like, well, they probably would do that.
Well, Gillette took the everlasting razor blade and locked it up.
What do you mean? Tell me.
You know about that story?
No.
Somebody invented a razor blade that never went dull, and Gillette bought it and just locked it.
And just killed it.
Yeah.
Same thing with the electric car stuff.
Yeah.
No shit. I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Whoa. And no one's done it since.
Well, I mean, they might in the future, but
right.
But it's that kind of mentality where it's like, it doesn't matter if it's for the betterment. It's all about, can I put a, like JP Morgan shutting down Tesla. I can't put a meter on that,
Mm-hmm.
all that free energy or whatever.
Sure.
Transmitted energy.
Money is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah. Capitalism.
Money and power.
Yeah.
It's out of control.
Oh yeah. You just got to figure a way to make disclosure profitable.
How? What is
More
that?
profitable than the military.
What does that look like? How is that
I don't know.
possible?
If I could figure it out, I would.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Got to follow the money.
I feel like disclosure is probably. I mean, disclosure is probably not something that you need.
David Wilcock told me that this year is the year for disclosure.
2012 was his year, I think, right? 2012.
2012.
And then it happened. He's like,
we're gonna all.
No, wait a minute. It might have been later, actually. Now that I think about it,
I love those.
So dumb.
Never put a date on your predictions.
Do you know Chris Bledsoe? Do you follow the Chris Bledsoe story?
No.
Chris Bledsoe is a man who was going through one of the hardest times of his life. He just lost his wife and was like fishing with his sons or something, and had this UFO experience where something the size and the brightness of the sun like came to him, and he thinks he was taken. And since then, he sees orbs and craft every single day. He can call them in at will. He posts on his Instagram all the time. And I know people that have gone to his house in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And like, you go to the ocean and like, you will see things. So NASA is obsessed with this guy. Congress people, ufologists, people are really like, he's repeatable, provable things he's showing.
Interesting.
And he made a prediction that Easter 2026, like to the day, he goes, something major is happening Easter 2026.
They never tell you good or bad though, right?
True.
Good.
Yeah, it's never like,
come on, just give me a hint.
Sure.
Something really good's gonna happen.
He wrote a book called UFO of God. So he sees them as like angels and very much for the good. So hopefully what he's talking about is good stuff.
How much have you done a deep dive on that sort of stuff, like Gnostics and?
Not much. The problem for me, I'm not really a big reader, so I need to watch videos on things.
Yeah.
I read a little bit, but there's just so much and so many connections. And for me, I'm very much about like the nuts and bolts.
There's like the books they took out of the, like, I think is it Ezekiel or the Nag Hammadi scriptures, and one of them is about him getting taken up in a UFO and overlooking the planet, and
no, I don't know.
There's all kinds of like stuff in some of the older texts that
I believe all that.
Yeah.
I don't see why not. Again, if we think they predate humans, why wouldn't they be interacting throughout history? But Chris Bledsoe is someone talking about putting a date on something. He didn't give a year, he gave a date. And the problem is like when that date comes and goes, now what? Now
is that date on the same timeline that he's predicting it?
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Like anything,
it gets squirrely.
Can vary different realities that are parallel at the same time, and it's like that whole John Titor thing and the time travel, and It's like he went back, or went forward, but it was a different timeline than the one he started on, parallel. Yeah,
It's a mind fuck.
Yeah.
It's a real mind fuck. So what do you think? Do you think overall, do you think these things have good intentions, bad intentions? What do you think they want with us? Do you think they're studying?
Well, if they had bad intentions, we'd be dead by now.
People make that argument, but let me throw this at you.
Yeah.
I don't like that argument for one reason. Is like, think about a couple, a man and a woman, or a man and a man, whoever,
Yeah.
or however you want to think about a couple. They meet, they fall in love, they go on dates, they fall deeply in love. He proposes.
Yeah.
They get married. Everything's great.
And then
3, 4, 5 years in, things maybe not so great. And then before you know it, man kills wife, or wife kills man. Just because things haven't happened yet doesn't mean...
yeah, that's true. I could see that. Yeah.
And also, like, we're talking, we've been, how long have people been on Earth for?
Not that long.
Yeah. The Earth is 14.5 billion years
we
old.
Evolve.
Sure, right.
You know?
So maybe their time doesn't work the same as ours.
Or maybe
so
there's not just one.
Right.
That's what I think. There's like benevolent and like there's sort of
like people.
Yeah, it's like people.
Mm-hmm. Good and bad ones.
Different groups or different kinds or different. Some might be harvesting you. Some might. I mean, there's the whole abduction thing. How many people go missing every year? How many children go missing every year?
A lot.
And it's just not even covered, not even talked about.
The abduction stuff might be maybe my favorite part of this. Not favorite, like just the most interesting to me.
Yeah.
The idea of that, of being taken from your home or your car.
Yep. And
going onto a ship where beings are like doing medical procedures on you.
I just love when Christopher Walken was in the film, though.
In Communion?
Yeah, that was
so weird when he's dancing with the aliens.
Yeah,
so
he
weird.
had to get some of his dancing.
Of course, he's good at
dancer,
it. That's his thing. Fat Boy Slim.
Yeah.
But it's just like to put yourself there, and then you think people think it wouldn't happen, but why wouldn't it? We do that to every animal on Earth.
Catch them, tag them, release them.
We've taken every animal out of its home to tag it and look at its eyes and take blood samples and
they found some of the tags and then they disintegrate when they take them out.
Well, there's some that like they come out and like there's like a flesh that's grown around them. Yeah. There's some implants where people go to take them out and they move. They move. They get away from like the scalpel and shit.
Okay.
On video,
makes sense.
John Lear did a lot of like removals of implants, but.
So who would you say your top 4 legit
all time?
All time.
I mean, Jacques Vallée is kind of like the godfather of all of it, right?
Yeah.
He's the one who the Close Encounters, the main
right. He's supposed to
scientist was supposed to be Jacques Vallée. Richard Dolan is someone who I think is one of the best historians.
Yep.
Going. I like. He's a really good thinker, and he's open-minded. Doesn't jump to any conclusions. Man,
Lazar.
I believe Lazar, but he doesn't add a whole lot. His story is his story, which is something I like.
Yeah,
it's always problematic for me when someone tells a story and then years later add parts.
Yeah.
It's like, I forgot about this crazy part where I had lunch with a being on Neptune. How could I forget about that?
Yeah, the blue bird people.
But Bob's story has stayed the same. George Knapp, I think, has done some. I mean, he broke the Lazar story,
right?
But I think Jacques Vallée is one of the best historians. What's his name?
Richard Hoagland.
Not so much. I mean, I got into him through the Project Camelot stuff. He's cool. He's cool. What the guy? I got to think of his book.
I miss driving to Art Bell. That was the best tour. I remember driving through the desert on tour at like 3 a.m, and you'd be tuning it in on AM radio.
Yes. Let me look up this guy. He's done some of the best work on crash retrievals. Name's just escaping me right now. Book. What the fuck's his name? Oh, here it is. Leonard Stringfield.
Oh, don't know him.
You should. He put out like 7 volumes of cataloging like crash retrieval cases and crashed cases.
Yeah.
And has done some of the most thorough work. Doesn't jump to conclusions. It's just like, here's the claim. Here's what's evidence. Here's what's speculation. Make with it what you will.
Good.
He died a while ago, but you can get one of his books. It's all seven books in one big thing. It's like a couple $100 on eBay, but you can find it.
So the Phil Schneider thing.
Yeah.
So people have found photos that his fingers were
Yes.
on? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like,
bullshit. Totally bullshit. But again, it's one of those claims where when it happened, I'm like, I think I just wanted to believe. There's a time when I want to believe everything.
What's the purpose? If you like, I always wonder that too when I look at people. And okay, so let's say they're proven to be sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what was the purpose of that other than making money, like Corey Good or whoever, like their big shows?
Mm-hmm.
But like, what's the purpose? What's the disinformation and why?
Good question.
Like, is that
Great
to
question.
keep people off of the trail of underground bases?
Sure, why not?
You know, or is it to like, what is it doing? Like, what's its purpose?
I mean, it's been said for 80 years that the brilliant part of the UFO topic is that the governments or the powers that be allow certain truths to come out and just wrap a bunch of bullshit around it. Right. So the core story that we all know of, like, Roswell happens, we retrieved it, there was a cover up.
Right.
Perfect. That started everything of like, it's a conspiracy theory.
Right.
And then through the years, bits of truth come out, but like you have it told by someone who can come off like a lunatic, like, or someone that has a shady past. Like Bob Lazar made his claim. And then once you do some digging, it's like, well, where's his college records?
Right.
Well, he did go to college, but his records are missing for a certain reason. Yeah. And then like he had a thing where he was like a pimp. You know, he was a pimp for a while.
Yeah.
Like he had like a little bit of like a
That's why I like him.
A side hustle.
So pimpy.
And he would make his own rocket cars. So
that's cool.
On the face of it, it's easy to dismiss someone like that.
Yeah.
Because like, well, how could he have worked on UFOs if he has whores? It's like, well,
right. They would.
There's no correlation, but like you can judge someone's character by like, maybe he's not like the cleanest past, but doesn't make someone a liar.
Right.
And he's passed lie detector test. He's told the same story. He talked about element 115 before it was actually discovered to be a real element.
That's huge.
That's big. Yeah. That's big. So yeah, I think.
Plus, he looks like the drummer for DEVO.
He sure does. He's definitely a DEVO fan. Look at that guy.
Does he play drums?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure he can learn though, or make a robot that can do it. But I don't know. It's a good question. But
I always wonder that. I'm always like, okay, so what's the game here? What are they trying to distract you from? What are you not supposed to look at? Which parts of this, like it's sort of like in Men in Black when all the real news is on the cover of the Inquirer.
Right.
Like
that's the real newspaper.
That's the real newspaper.
But I also think that, you talked earlier about like liars. Like if you know a good liar, like you tell one and you have to commit to it. And then one lie becomes 12 and 50 and 100. Exactly. And you kind of lose track of the truth. And at what point, it's been, close to 100 years now. It's been 80 years since, if we consider Roswell to be the main story in the U.S., even though there was retrievals before then, and there were sightings in the 1800s and the 1600s and everything. At what point do you be like, all right, listen, there's something we got to admit. Like, we've been lying to you guys for almost 100 years. Yes, we've killed people, but like, it is true. Then what do you do? And then there's the talk of like, if the government has been giving certain contracts to reverse engineered craft to Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman, that's not how government contracts work. You give them to everybody and they bid on the project. You're not allowed to just cherry pick who you give stuff to.
Right.
So there has been companies throughout the years that have been bankrupt because they haven't gotten government projects.
Right.
So then there's lawsuits, and there's if people have been killed, which they clearly have been killed.
And there's the whole collapse of religion and
all of that, which I don't think would happen. I think the religious thing would hold tight.
But think about how we've been soft prepared for this ever since like Close Encounters and all that. E.T. And people like us are sitting here talking about it. It's like this slow sort of frog boiling in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
if they come out tomorrow and say, yeah, this is real, what are you going to do?
I'd be stoked. I'll be, yeah, I know, but now what do we do? Like,
right.
How do we use this information to help society? And
well, that's a separate issue.
Of course it is.
Help people.
My hope is that it would be, a unifying thing for humanity.
Right.
And humbling. I think we're pretty high on the hog right now. And I think, humans could use a little bit of humbling.
Oh yeah.
Big time.
Well,
Just
it's
to
almost
know,
like incredible amount, like any protest against anything. I was just talking to somebody this afternoon about this, how since the 60s, I feel like they have it down to a science, how to like get agitators in there, make the good people look bad, make them, like it's almost, and now with social media and
unbelievable.
and it seems lately, I would say over the last 5-6 years, there's been a lot of like, if you say something somebody doesn't agree with, you're a conspiracy theorist.
Yes.
And that's being thrown around. And I'm thinking to myself, does this person know where conspiracy theorist came from? Like, doesn't the irony, like, what,
Yeah.
but it's like this shut down. Don't ask questions, follow, don't ask. And it's almost like when cancel culture was at its peak, it was almost like fascist, like,
Yes.
where it was scary. Like people were losing their jobs that didn't do anything,
Yep.
but it was guilty till proven innocent.
Yeah.
Time.
Sure.
And it probably still is to a certain extent.
It's
think.
dying off a bit. I mean, even like the Me Too movement, which was, I think, a great movement at a certain point too, but it was like, believe women. It's like, well, all? Like just blanketly?
Right, which is totally sexist in and of itself.
Sure. And like, believe me, horrible things happen to women way more than men. I understand that.
But horrible things happen to men too.
Of course.
Like, I've experienced my share of things in the music business, where if you come with me, I'll make you a star.
Oh, you've gotten propositioned?
Oh yeah. When I was younger, when I was more,
Is that what Jerry did to get you in DEVO?
No. This is way in the Wayback Machine, but when I was starting out, but that sort of thing happens a lot.
Of course.
More than people admit or guys like to admit,
Of course.
So, I see both sides of it, but I don't think of humans as like men and women.
No.
I think of humans as asshole or nice.
That's a good way to look at it.
Like you're either like.
Well, let me ask you this, because I go back and forth all the time. Do you think that humans are overall good or overall shady? I wouldn't say bad, but
I would say overall incredibly good.
Really?
I would say
like
most people really, even if they're bad, think they're doing something good.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
You know what I mean? Like a lot of people justify things that you might think is bad, but in their mind, they're the hero in the story for whatever happened to them in the past or whatever, you know what I mean? So like, I think in general, people are really good, but I think there's definitely a force wedged in there to keep everyone fighting and keep everyone divided based on whatever, your sexuality, your sex, like how you look, the color of your skin, whatever, your beliefs. And it's always being thrown at them. And it is always like, just post anything on Facebook, post a picture of this mug. And within 10 minutes, people will be arguing about politics,
Your gay liberal mug.
Yeah, like Fenway, you're not a Yankees, man.
Yeah, right.
People find a way to wedge instead of come together.
And that's by design.
I think it's by design. I think the end of the 60s scared the shit out of the establishment where people were sort of getting together and, it just kind of went bad. It just, you had the Manson murderers and Altamont and all that stuff just in there. Assassinations.
Sure, of course.
So I think our natural state is good, but I think, there's also a lot of other elements in there, confusing things. There's assholes out there. Right?
No doubt about it.
There's evil people.
Yep.
But in general, most people and I know, they're pretty cool.
That's
they
true.
got their quirks or whatever, but they mean well and they're empathetic, most of them.
I like that view.
Yeah. Yeah, even Hitler loved his dog.
He did. And he also did some pretty bad stuff.
He did some horrible things, but I'm sure in his mind he thought he was doing great things,
Yeah. My wife and I over here, we it comes up like once or twice a year, like, dude, Hitler was like someone's cute little baby at one point.
He almost drowned when he was a little child and a priest saved him.
I don't think I did not know that.
I remember reading that. I remember going down that rabbit hole too with the FBI.gov Hitler files where it's like, wait a second, did he make it to South America? And like, that would make sense because Cold War had already started and they don't give a fuck about him now. And like,
imagine if Hitler died.
Yeah.
like what kind of world we'd be in. Would someone else have done it?
What's that? What he did?
If Hitler died, would the Holocaust would have happened some other way? Do you think it was meant to happen one way or another?
I think they would have found somebody else. I think there was more than Hitler behind that whole thing. You had Himmler and all those others. And I think they just he was a spokesperson, and he was picked out for his oratory skills. And
he was captivating.
He was captivating and hypnotic, and I think it was the perfect storm. But I think if it wasn't him, they would have put somebody else in that spot. And then you go back to what was it, the Fourth Reich, that book with Vannevar Bush and Ford and all these people funding Hitler, I mean, we took a lot of their scientists worked on our nuclear program. That's right. I was talking to somebody in Boston, and they was like, punch a Nazi. And I was like, you like NASA? Right. That's, yeah. These people don't even realize that NASA was run by actual fucking, you should talk to is my friend Scott Dakota. His mother, her father was the handler for the Nazis when they were doing the nuclear bomb tests. And she tells stories about von Braun and all the Nazis. They used to come to dinner every night at the house. And what? Yeah. Has he written a book? Have they written a book? No, she passed away, but he remembers the stories, and the husband's still alive. I would love to speak to him. Yeah. That's riveting. That's fascinating. She said that von Braun was nice, but the other ones were really not nice people. And what? Yeah, they were not nice people. Mean Nazis. They had Hugo Boss suits, Okay, listen, I know. Listen, they were horrible people, but they were stylish motherfuckers. Hugo Boss. They looked good. Why we should have had that. Yep. You're just too frumpy dumpy over here. Yep. Those baggy pants we had. We beat them. We did beat them. And then we assimilated them. Yep. By the way, you mentioned the FBI. We talked about that Joe McMoneagle remote viewing Mars a million years ago. Yeah. That's on the CIA website. That is. That event. Yeah. He did that for the CIA. You should get Russell Targ on here. That'd be fun. Yeah. That'd be fun. I mean, he knows some shit. He's a brilliant man, and I don't have much time left. I mean, he's an old man. Yeah. But he ran that whole remote viewing thing. Him and Hal Puthoff. Yeah. Were huge. Is Hal Puthoff still alive? You didn't see his interview on Rogan a couple weeks ago? No. Dude, go when you get home. Dude, I can't watch Rogan. Yes, you can. They ever have people you tell somebody you saw something on Rogan and they're like, they dismiss it. You're a Trumper. Well, this is part of our problem. This is a huge part of our problem. Yep. Is that we need to have discussions with people that we don't necessarily agree with. People should be able to make up their own fucking minds about things. Yes. Not being told what to think or who to watch or what. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. I'm tired of being told what to think, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah. But go watch Hal on Rogan. They talk for almost 3 hours. Does he talk about all the remote viewing? Yes. But he lets out more stuff than he ever has before about UFOs and what he thinks they might be. I like listening to Ingo Swann's speeches. Great. He seemed like just an interesting. He was out there. Yeah, he was out there. You ever see the pictures of his apartment with all the big naked men paintings? And he was a painter. No. I think it went up for sale and they had a whole walkthrough of it. He's on Instagram. He died. Oh no, I'm thinking of Yuri Geller. Yuri Geller. Oh, Yuri Geller is on Instagram all the time. Yep. No, Ingo is one of the best. But check out Hal Puthoff. It was an incredible interview, and I got to send you this Harold Malmgren. Send me that for talk. Sure. But we're almost done here. But I want to ask you one more question. Yeah. What do you hope if we get actual capital D disclosure? Yeah, it's a real thing. Here's the bodies. Here's a UFO museum. Here's a UFO. Here's the Roswell craft. Yeah. I lived in Roswell for a while. I got to hear about that too. Yeah. Okay. We're not done yet. What was that like? And why the fuck? There's nothing there. It was a girl that I was dating. It was early, right? Sort of the very beginning of the elevator drops, who I really liked. And she moved there because her grandfather lived there. And I went and kind of visited and just hung out for a while. And was driving the grandfather's pickup truck and making ice cream on the front porch. And it was just super boring there. There was nothing. There was nothing. The big event, this is hilarious. On the weekends, everyone would get all dressed up. We're going to Walmart. And everyone would go to Walmart on the weekends. And that was the big to-do, Maybe I don't want to go there, but there's nothing there. I mean, it's kind of cool to visit White Sands, sure, and visit the base. Ranges. The base in Roswell is still there. They say that they just had a fire there recently. Yeah. The Roswell base burned down, and apparently the room where the bodies were kept is
burned down.
Oh, how convenient.
Yep, the room burned down. Was her grandfather living there when in 47?
Oh, I don't know. Probably. They had an old ranch there. Yeah. Yeah.
If you could go back to one point in history to see anything, what would it be?
I'd like to see James Brown.
That would not be my guess.
No. I don't know. I mean,
good God.
Good God. Like in his prime, just, oh my God.
Sweaty and wet.
Yeah, just nasty.
UFO event. If you could see one UFO
event. I'd like to see when, let's see, that I would know about. I don't know. That's a tough one because I don't know all the UFO events.
I would go to aerial school in Zimbabwe.
With the kids. Yeah, that would make sense. And you can see.
That documentary is my #1 favorite UFO doc.
Yeah.
Aerial phenomena.
And what about the one in Brazil, the crash?
Moment of contact.
Yeah.
The Brazilian Roswell.
Yeah.
Huge. Did you watch that doc?
Yep.
Incredible.
Yeah. It smelled so bad.
Ammonia.
Yeah.
That weird ammonia smell.
Yep.
That'd be pretty good.
Well, then there's those guys. I forget what book I was reading. Must have been. It was like maybe one of the Philadelphia experiment guys or the Montauk boys. That's what it was. It was that whole thing. Mm-hmm. And the guy was talking about working side by side with ETs and how bad they smelled because they secreted through their skin.
Yep. They don't have like an asshole or
they just
shit through your skin. Yeah. Damn it, Bill.
Come on.
Someone wipe me off. So I guess my last question is like, if disclosure happens, what would you like to see come from it? Like what's your biggest hope for?
Well, free energy and maybe life extension, like figuring out how the telomeres fray and, that sort of stuff, health stuff.
Which are things we could get with AI soon. AI could figure that stuff out for us.
Hopeful. I just think that maybe we could dial down the military industrial complex a little, like just dial it back, so it's not running the whole show. It's just doing maybe defense and not even need defense. Not like, there's also those people that talk about how there never was any Cold War. It was just a hoax to create this industry that could, just completely keep arming itself and keep pumping money in, and that the Russians and the U.S. work together secretly, and the Chinese, and that there's these bases either in space or in the Antarctic where they all work together.
Yep.
That's also plausible, that the whole thing is bullshit.
Yeah. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Because the way we're doing things is not working. We need to chill the fuck
stupid.
out. Yeah. I mean, during the Cold War, the U.S. and Russia had these back channel, like they were, enemies at that time.
Yeah.
And fingers on the button, ready to go. But they had agreements of like, if you see something in your sky that is like a UFO, like reach out to us and we'll tell you that it's ours or it's not ours. Like there was an agreement of like,
that's cool.
Let's at least be on the
Do
level.
We know that for sure?
Yeah. Well, George Knapp went to Russia in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
And he met with a bunch of like military officials and he snuck out a bunch of materials. He snuck out like intel information from Russia.
If it wasn't for the Russians, we'd all be speaking German though.
There you go. They were our buddies in
they were our buddies.
WWII.
A lot of them got killed.
Yeah. They did a lot of the work.
Yeah.
And they had those cold winters that frozen front and
never fuck with the Russians.
Never. You been there before?
Never been.
Brutal.
I'm part Russian.
Yep. It's the
part German, part Russian.
I say it's the coldest place I've ever been. I don't mean temperature.
Minneapolis?
I don't mean temperature.
Oh.
Like everything there is gray and brown and like concrete.
Yeah.
People don't really wear bright colors. It's just like, and everyone's kind of like, like bummed out. It's.
Wouldn't you be?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was.
I love those 80s films, the propaganda ones where the Russian guy comes to America and he's Coca-Cola.
Oh, hey,
my God, cheeseburger. Like
really, they just like, great, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Borscht.
Did we talk about that today? Borscht? Yeah. Josh Hager, thank you for coming in, dude.
Thanks, man. Yeah, this was fun. I thought I was going to be like,
listen, this show is just about conversations and geeking out on nerdy UFO stuff and space things. And the consciousness thing, we could talk about for hours.
There was a little side note to that consciousness.
Oh, please,
I was thinking.
We can keep going. I'm in no rush.
Yeah, me neither.
Cool.
I did have out of body experiences when I was younger, building models, because I would focus my attention on just the smallest area, whatever, and then I could actually sort of like travel, like leave my body if I was doing it long enough. And I remember that freaking me out when I was a kid.
I wonder if because having that much attention, it puts you in some kind of meditative state.
It does, because it shuts everything else out. Like, did you build models when you were a kid?
No.
That was my whole thing. I wanted to work for ILM building spaceships.
Of course.
So I was like psychotic with like fiber optic lights in the cockpit. You know, the whole cockpit would light up and like.
Oh, you worked in electronics to them.
Yeah, yeah, and I was like psycho detail oriented.
Were you building would you carve models or buy model kits?
I'd kit smash. So I would take like car kits and this and that, and I would like take a little bit of this and put it here, and then take the window from this thing and put it on, and like maybe like a couple tubes, and like, you know, like I was into that whole like kit smashing, like the ILM guys were building all the Star Trek. And of course I built like X-Wing fighters and all that. But there was something about zoning in to like a dot, like zoning in when you're focused like that, where I could just keep going through it almost. Like,
whoa.
Yeah.
And you remember that?
I remember that. And I remember staring at my grandparents. They had like one of those tiled floors where if you stare at it too long, it starts going 3D.
Oh, sure.
You know?
Yep. The black and white tile floor.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like the diner style.
But that would put you in a certain mind space too.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Flow state? Flow
The
state.
flow state.
Okay. Can't hear you. There's no mic. But gotcha. Cool.
She said flow state.
Flow state. Flow state. Namaste.
But anyway, yeah, that was my little side. Because I was thinking about that earlier, and I was like, well, I guess that counts, you know.
I had a dream once. I think it was a dream where I kind of like floated up out of my body, and I was looking down at myself. And in my room, like there was a window next to my bed, and then, you know, a wall in front of my bed. And in front of the window was this like dark figure, dark kind of shadow thing with like white kind of almond eyes going up like this.
Oh.
And then to my left was this white figure with the black almond eyes. And both of them were looking up at me because I was like at the top of my ceiling.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, why are you looking at me? And then they're both looking like, I almost thought they were waiting for me to make a decision or something. And then I looked back at my body, and I shot back into my body at like 1,000,000 miles an hour and woke up having a really bad asthma attack.
Oh, fuck.
So forever I thought it was a dream, or was it like something seeing like, are you going to live or die? Do you want to go to heaven or hell?
Or like,
which
you
one?
shouldn't be up there, man. You should be, you know.
Hey, be careful up there, pal.
That reminds me of in my family, my grandfather, right before he died, on his calendar, a couple days in a row, wrote, "Men in the house, fedora, dark clothes," and then he died. And then my mom read that, and she goes, "Oh, I see the men in the fedora sometimes. I'll wake up and they'll be standing over the bed." And then I started thinking, somebody asked me what my earliest memory was.
Men in black shit?
And it was guys with black fedoras standing over me in the hospital.
They're probably just Bostonians, just like
Probably just
laborers.
New York.
Guys,
Yeah.
dock workers.
But she used to have,
Whoa.
my mom would have terrifying, she'd wake up and see these guys in fedoras with 40s looking suits. And then they'd kind of disappear into the wall kind of thing.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And the kids my kids see ghosts and stuff. I don't. They saw the house in Marlborough, they saw the blue boy a couple times.
Tell me about the blue boy.
He just would sit there kind of crouched over, rocking back and forth in the corner, and he was blue. And the two of them, I remember telling me separately that they saw him, and then they saw him on another occasion. And then Chloe was coming home up our street and saw a lady just kind of drift down the path and across the road in front of her and out into this field. So she always thinks she's like, that's where I saw the ghost.
Whoa.
Yeah,
well, where you're talking about, like where I kind of grew up, is like a really old timey part of the country. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, the Revolutionary War happened there.
And the King Philip Wars happened right there.
I don't know the King Philip Wars.
Oh, King Philip Wars. So let me see if I can get this right.
Okay.
Massasoit's son met a comet, led a revolution again with the Indian tribes against the colonists, because the son of Massasoit went to a meeting with the Pilgrims and they poisoned him, and he died on the way back. So he put together this band, and they were winning. They were like taking over Sudbury, Marlborough, Stowe, like that whole area. And the colonists wound up beating them by hiring the Mohegans to track him, and they tracked him to Rhode Island and killed him. But there's more to the story. It was a huge Indian war.
Sure.
In Acton,
Yep.
right in that area. There's King Philip Park and this area, Sudbury and stuff.
Right.
And
A lot of history there.
a lot of blood.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I mean, it's kind of the birthplace of America in some ways, in a lot of ways.
isn't that weird when you drive by the Concord Bridge and you just think,
the old North Bridge,
yeah, and you're like
Sleepy Hollow, and
yeah.
yeah, Henry David Thoreau was all right there.
Oh yeah, the pond, Walden Pond's
Yep.
right there.
Paul Revere rode through my town
Yeah.
yelling, "The British are coming."
Yeah.
That's where I grew up.
Yeah.
So there was in my house that we had, I've never believed in ghosts, and I've had some, I don't know why I don't believe in ghosts, but there was one day I woke up, I worked at a gas station when I was 16, 17, 18. And I would work Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Saturday, I would work open to close. So I'd open the place at 9 and shut down at 5. And I would set my alarm for 8:15 or 8:20. There was one morning where I woke up and my bed, all four corners were shaking off the ground like The Exorcist. Exactly like The Exorcist. Just boom, 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 boom.
Wow.
And I'm on my bed. I sit up in my bed and I'm riding my bed for about 45 seconds, an incredibly long time.
Mm-hmm.
Then it just stops. Nothing else in my room was shaking. It wasn't an earthquake. It wasn't a truck. I wasn't having a seizure. And my bed was just smashing off the ground for almost a minute. And I stopped and I'm obviously I wasn't scared. That was the weirdest part. I wasn't scared. I was just confused. What the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And I get up and I start getting dressed. I go in my sister's room to see if she's awake. How could my entire house not wake up to this?
Yeah.
She's the room next to me, sound asleep. My mom and stepdad, our whole upstairs was one bedroom. So I yelled up to them, and they were both asleep. And then my alarm went off. So I was awake when my alarm went off. So I know I wasn't asleep when this was happening. And what the hell was that? And my sister one time was taking a shower.
Yeah.
And she turned around in the shower and there was a 4-foot Native American man standing in the shower behind her. We would have stuff fall off of our fridge and fly across the room. And
Wow.
but I don't believe in ghosts. I don't know why.
I've never seen one. I worked at Stone's Public House in Ashland, which is a 1700s building. And there was crazy stories about this bloody dress. It was a little dress that they had upstairs. And if that dress left the premises, somebody died. And over the years, they would take the dress out for whatever reason, and then the manager would get hit by the train or whatever. And the dress was from this girl who was standing at the window because the train tracks are right there. And the window shattered on her and killed her near where the kitchen is. And so they keep the dress now. It's in a frame up there because they've lost 3 or 4 managers trying to take the dress out of there.
Whoa.
And I had my friend who worked there says he saw a mug lift up off the bar and go onto a table. And there was talk about John Stone killing a bunch of salesmen in a card game and burying them right under the restaurant. And
Life is so weird.
yeah, it's so New England,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
England loves their folklore.
I'm sure LA's got a lot of ghosts. So.
I would think so. I
Yeah.
mean, the whole country. I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff happening in this country.
Go to the Clown Motel.
There you go. Do you believe in have you ever researched any of that, old levitation stories and people levitating? And
I think there might be something to that when it comes to sound.
oh, okay,
Back in,
frequencies.
Tibetan stuff. Yeah, frequency and sound. I did a lot of research with my friend Scott back in the early 2000s. We were doing just experiments, really. He's really into math and science. And we calculated, so he says, well, what do you want the song? What key? And so let's make it the Schumann resonance. So we looked up what the Schumann resonance of the Earth was at that moment. So we made it that, and then the key was based on the golden mean, the golden proportion mathematics to calculate the scale. And
this is very Maynard of Tool of you guys.
is it like frequency and silence and all that stuff? And we created this piece, and it just sounded like a field of crickets. And I was like, oh wow, that's interesting. So we went out my parents' backyard. The studio was in their basement at the time, and we measured the field of crickets out in the back, and then we just overlaid the two, and they were just perfect.
Whoa.
So as if crickets and insects and all that are harmonizing with the resonance of the Earth, the frequency.
I got goosebumps.
Yeah. Like that sort of stuff, I think, and there's also like you can levitate objects using, I think sound waves haven't been explored enough as far as for medical use and for all sorts of other stuff, you know.
I know it's been sort of touched on barely about like sound waves might have been one of the only ways the pyramids could have been built by people.
Right.
Is finding a way to help with the weight of those immensely heavy pieces of.
And you think about anything has its own resonant frequency, so that could be a weapon as well. You know, you can figure out the frequency of the water molecules in your body and just kill you.
Yeah.
You know, or they, you know, crowd control.
Sure.
You know, that sort of stuff.
Do you see that recent video of the people that were? I don't know if it was a protest, but a bunch of people were gathered. And a bunch of them just like got blown over, like almost like a sound wave blasted through them.
Vomiting and like
no, they just parted, just knocked over like 12 people.
That would make sense.
Yeah, like a sound cannon or some kind of directed audio
cannon,
something like that. There's something to it.
There's
what?
I'm just saying sound and that kind of stuff. I just was texting Lance earlier today that like sound healing is massive for me, and sound changes. I mean, I go to like different places. I've meditated for years, but nothing like sound.
Yeah.
Nothing at all like sound.
She brought me to a sound bath.
Oh yeah, with like, the bowls and stuff. Yeah.
A bunch of years ago. And that would usually be something that I would think I would like.
Yeah.
And it made me so unbelievably angry.
Really?
I got so mad, and I'm not an angry person. I'm a pretty happy dude.
Yeah.
But
you
she
had
brought
some
me
Dunkin' Donuts that day though.
We didn't even get into that yet. Shit. But she brought me to the sound bath, and I get why it's beautiful, and it just like it literally rubbed me the wrong way
because.
But I think it shakes up. It's a different frequency. So I brought in today what I've been meditating to.
Yeah.
That has been bringing me back to reality, basically. And I brought it to him this morning, and he said it was anxiety provoking.
So maybe a different frequency.
He is a different frequency, 100%. And I've gone to sound baths that I've left blissful, and I've gone to sound baths where I've been angry and fucked up for days. And I know it when I feel the frequency, like this is gonna, like I don't know it consciously.
Yeah.
But I can tell this is vibrating really
the right
weird. Yeah, or the wrong, like the very much wrong one.
Yeah, it just didn't work for me. But I'm also just I'm weird. I'm different.
He's an anomaly.
Well, it's sort of like the Monroe Institute tapes that were offset binaural beating.
Hemisync.
The hemisync stuff.
Which I've tried.
Yeah.
I've tried.
Oh, yeah.
Did that do anything?
It makes me fall asleep. It made me go to sleep. I liked it, and I have a real hard time focusing.
Yeah.
Like a very hard time focusing. And I think for that kind of stuff, you need to be able to quiet your mind. And I don't, my mind does not do that.
Yeah.
It's always, what?
The sound is what quiets my mind and brings me other places. So I just think there's something.
What you need, maybe I'll give you some of the stuff that Scott and I were working on.
Please.
It's actual music, but it's all hemisync. And it's all like there's, alpha, theta, like the different states or whatever.
Theta waves.
So it would be in that key, offset by that much.
7 hertz or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
That Neo wave stuff, right? Because it's more to
the what?
The stuff with the visuals that my friend sent me. That we
yes,
that has more musicality and different, but it is based on like megahertz and things like that.
I think I know that tones can do great things. I just haven't found ones that like connect with me that way.
Right.
Yeah, Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think it hasn't been utilized enough.
And there's that whole 432, 450, 50, was it 55, 58?
There's multiple numbers now, I'm noticing.
And my friend is like, 432 is bullshit. That's made up bullshit. This is the frequency.
It's really confusing me now because there's so many that they're claiming are X, Y, and Z. And I'm like getting very confused. I'm like, well,
maybe
which
the
one is gonna
best way to do it is if you have your guitar, you tune it to what feels good, like just by ear.
I've noticed old Fugazi albums, like a lot of those songs are not in 440 proper. It's like they just like, this sounds good. Okay, everyone tune to this.
Yeah.
Which annoys me when I'm trying to learn songs.
Right.
But I kind of forget, like, was it a mistake or was it on purpose? I don't know.
And then there's rhythm, 3/2?
Mm-hmm.
That sort of thing that can start triggering consciousness stuff. And
it's stuff we need to tap into more. Probably things that we used to use all the time. I think like Native Americans and indigenous folks are all about that stuff. I have a friend who's he's a Mohawk Indian, lives in Joshua Tree.
Oh wow!
And
they were really feared by the Indians around us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I made one joke once about like Indians or like scalping or something, and like he's a very laid back dude. And he didn't take kindly to that. He's like, took it very seriously. But I love talking, I haven't done it much, but talking to indigenous folks about this kind of thing, because in their mind, like consciousness and UFOs and Bigfoot and just all these beings, these interdimensional things
that they've known about it. Like they're like,
it is
catching up.
It is just matter of fact.
Yeah.
It's not like, no, we don't believe in it. Like,
right.
Do you believe in cars?
Right.
Like, you see them all the time. It is. They just are. And I love that way of thinking. It's something that we in modern world just like have to turn off. We refuse to let it.
And we've cut off.
Yes.
I mean, think about how much we lost when the Spaniards came over and they just burned everything and all the books and like, or the Library of Alexandria or like,
Yeah.
I hope they find something under that paw of the Sphinx though. And that I think they found like an open room.
Oh, on the Sphinx or the pyramid stuff?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know about the paw one.
Yeah, that was an Edgar Casey thing. He said they'll find a copy of the Library of Alexandria under the paw of the Sphinx, the right paw or something.
Have you been to Egypt?
Never been.
That's one of the few places on earth that I want to see.
I kind of don't want to be disappointed though. Like you go there and it's like Taco Bell and here's the pyramids.
There really is a Taco Bell there, isn't there?
Yeah.
I think that there is one right there.
Yeah.
But the pyramids have always been like a draw,
the
a real
Great
lore.
Pyramid for me is the draw. The other ones,
yeah, I mean, if you want to see the biggest one,
I want to see the one that was first and like the one that like nobody knows what the fuck's going on because there's no markings. Do
you believe it was built by people? Solely by people.
Very large people, maybe, but
so maybe not humans as we know them,
right? Or somebody or something built that. Fact.
Yeah,
but
it's a marvel no matter what.
We can't build it today with the technology we have,
like laser precision.
So, I mean, that's where I kind of agree with Graham Hancock's advanced civilization theories, like pre-Younger Dryas, because there's too much evidence all over the world, like pyramids in South America and Egypt and the same looking gods and like just too much. The little handbag that they carry,
the cave drawings over the world that kind of show the same kind of gray alien that we've come to know all over caves all over the world. They're like thousands and thousands of years old.
Right.
Why is that like that?
Oh, they were just, they were high.
Oh, yeah. It's a coincidence.
It's a coincidence.
Have you heard about the possible pyramid in Alaska? There's like a protected pyramid in Alaska that you're not allowed to go anywhere near. It's protected by the military.
And there's underwater ones too, right? Like
sure. Yeah. It's a wild world.
There's one in Massachusetts, isn't there?
A pyramid?
Yeah. I remember somebody telling me there was like a Stonehenge somewhere and a
Stonehenge.
Where the demons.
Nobody knew who they were or what they were doing.
How many Spinal Tap moments have you lived on the road?
All of them. Rock and roll. Hello. It's pretty funny. I'm sure you've been through the same shit.
Yep.
But yeah, dude, it's a wild world. I'm happy to keep learning and keep having these conversations.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to get any answers anytime soon, but
You don't? Not in your lifetime? Do you think in your lifetime?
I think, yeah, I think within the next 10 years, something's got to break.
I think AI. I do think a big part of the reason that a lot of this UFO information is kind of coming out and government officials are sort of speaking on the record, maybe being allowed to speak more openly, is because AI will be able to unlock a lot of this stuff and look at old files and be like, well, clearly it has to be, there's something to this.
Right.
Or AI will end up being the way that we can possibly communicate with another world or another.
Or AI might be the ultimate disinformation tool.
Could be. It'll be
Where's the
used
money?
that way.
Which way does the money go?
It'll be used that way. And then there's talk that what we think of as aliens is AI from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be.
Or
could
there's
be.
the time traveler theory that they're us from the future fixing their mistakes.
Mike Masters talks a lot about that. He thinks that grays are us from the future because if you look at how our bodies have changed over the years, eventually we're not going to need a whole lot of body mass because physical labor will not be a thing. We won't be speaking as much because we'll have computers and it'll all be eyes and just our bigger brains in smaller bodies.
Do you believe in telepathy?
Have you listened to the telepathy tapes?
No.
The podcast?
No.
I couldn't possibly believe in telepathy more.
Yeah.
I was about to let you go, but now we're here for another hour.
Like how many bands have you been in where you just know? You're communicating with the guys because you've played together so long. You just know.
I talk about this all the time because I'm a bass player.
Yeah.
And for me, when you find a drummer that just like, I know what he's going to do and he knows what I'm going to do.
You're not even looking at each other. You just know.
And people could say like, it's just patterns. You're used to it, but I don't think so. I think when you're with a special group doing anything, you do sync up a little bit. There's some kind of communication that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I'll just tell you, because most of this audience knows we've talked about this podcast a lot. The Telepathy Tapes is a 10-part podcast and a bunch of like bonus episodes too, but where to me it's been proven, to her it's been proven, to a lot of the public it's been proven that nonverbal autistic children have the ability to communicate at least with their mothers, like have this like full-on telepathic communication where you can speak and like these autistic children all over the world, once they learn how to communicate on these computers, can tell their parents or whoever that they go to this place called the Hill in their minds and hang out with each other.
Oh.
So all these nonverbal autistic kids go to this place and hang out, and they have friends, and they play and they talk. Like there's one where like people have best friends in different states, and the parents end up connecting and being like, my son says that your son's his best friend, but you live across the country. Is your son possibly named Jonathan and nonverbal autistic? And she's like, yes.
Oh, interesting.
And like, have you taught your kid how to, it's called spelling. Have you taught your kid how to use this computer program?
Yeah.
And they say, no. It's like, well, you need to learn this. And when these kids learn how to communicate, the first thing they say is, I'm in here. Like I'm all good.
Yeah.
I know everything that you're saying. I know what you dream about. I know what you think about.
Wow.
I know that you have at times, not felt bad about keeping me, and you wish you didn't keep me, but I'm glad you did. And like this, it's incredible.
Wow.
Listen to this podcast. It changed my life.
Okay.
And I'm trying to get everybody to listen to it.
I'll listen to it.
It'll blow your mind. So yes, I do believe in telepathy.
Even with animals,
There's a whole segment. There's a whole segment on animals.
Yeah.
Like when a dog knows you're coming home, that's been proven that dogs do know when you're leaving to head home to see them.
Right. But that's a conspiracy theory.
You're right. There was a time when I was in high school, there was a 2-year period where anytime I wanted, I would tell you what the next song on the radio was going to be.
Yeah.
And I would never be wrong.
Oh man, too bad you didn't do that with lottery tickets.
Right?
I didn't even think about it then. I was too young to play, but I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
Off track betting.
But I would, my friends would be like, okay, what's next? I'm like, Alice in Chains, Man in the Box. And
well, that's because BCN only
That was
played
it.
4 songs in a row.
I did use it to my advantage.
Jam,
AAF. I'm like,
Alice in Chains.
Even flow, then Lithium by Nirvana,
Yeah.
and then maybe a little Dinosaur
Jane
Jr.
Says.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it. No, but I had almost 100% hit rate for a couple of years, and then it went away.
Shit.
So I gotta. If I need to learn how to refocus and tap into
It's
my,
all there.
my skills.
Well, that's the thing. I think with anybody, it's all there. It's just a matter of like wanting to access any of it.
and we just don't need to anymore. We don't need to rely on ourselves as much. We rely on devices and
Think
other
about
stuff.
We could have a whole other hour about that. You know.
Well, you'll just have to come back.
I just think it's taken away as far as the biggest thing is meeting places. Used to go to the record store and you'd meet people.
Yeah.
You'd go to the guitar shop and you'd hang out there.
Yep.
Clothing store. You know, that's all gone because I'm watching my kids and they're at the age now where they're starting to date, and everything is like, oh, she's hot.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I'm like, dude, you don't even know who that is. Like, what? You know, it's like a whole different process.
The last few years, like I've heard that like women say that if you're at a bar and a guy walks up to you to like hit you up and talk to you,
Yeah.
that's weird. Like that's an
Like,
aggressive
he's gonna
move.
roofie you.
It's like no,
Yeah.
I just want to talk to you. You're a pretty girl.
Like, hey.
It's a weird world. I mean, I'm so happy. I've been married. We've been together for 16 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
And thank you. But I'm just so glad. I can't imagine dating in a world like this.
My favorite thing is to sit in a coffee shop and just be like this. And everyone's on their phone and they look at you like you're psycho because you're not on your phone.
This guy's going to shoot the place up.
I'm just looking at people and they're like,
Whatever, weirdo. Don't you have Instagram, man?
I'm like,
yeah, it's weird.
it's great for people watching.
The best.
During
Um,
COVID, I used to take the kids to Walmart to people watch. That was
That's a good place. All
Always
walks.
Something crazy would always happen when they were there.
It's like a Waffle House.
Yeah, totally.
You never know what's going to
Oh
happen
my
there.
God, I got so many good Waffle House stories.
Well, you'll have to come back and talk more about it. You're going to be you got tour coming up.
Yep. So DEVO's going back out. I think we're doing Ohio and up to Toronto and doing another leg and then a little break. And then I think we're back out in late August, September.
Well, go get some DEVO tickets. Check out Josh up there. It's so fun, dude. I'm so proud of you and happy for you to see you up there.
Thanks, man.
It seems like it's something you probably manifested, and you did. I do believe in it. I got to tell you my Nine Inch Nails story after this, but I'm proud of you. Go see Josh Hager on tour with DEVO. Follow your own. You're gonna put out some more music. You're always recording.
Yeah, I'm always recording. I'll probably put out another. Well, I never really did put out a Garvey J record. The record's there, but
At least if you don't do anything else, go look at his music video that's on YouTube. Truly one of the coolest music videos I've ever seen, and the way it came about.
War's over.
Yes,
Again.
the way it came
Yeah.
about is incredible. Is it an MIT contest or something? Is that what it was?
No, it was a MIT guy doing a project, and then he went to Amanda Palmer, and I think she was busy, and she recommended he call me. Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah.
And yeah, and he had like an $80,000 budget, and he built like these sets, and like he had because he had
I'm gonna show you this
developed-
video when we're done. It's the fucking coolest video.
He developed some automatic camera thing. So they were like, okay, you know, and he was going to throw all the sets out and everything. I rolled up in a truck. And
You kept it?
I kept them all.
Is that at your house?
It's at my house.
Oh, that's awesome. I want to
Yeah.
see that. Thank you for coming in, and please, whenever you're in town, please come back and do this again.
Oh, I'd love to. This is great. Now that I know I can do it.
Yeah, you did great. I know
I
you're.
did
You,
great.
you did such a good job.
Thank you.
Love you, Josh.
Love you
Thank you for
too.
coming by, and thank you guys for listening and supporting this show. Share with a friend, like and comment, subscribe, and follow Josh on Instagram. What is your Instagram handle?
Josh2, number 2, Hager, Hager.
Okay, and follow along his endeavors.
See you out there.
You're a good man, Mr. Hager,
Thank you, sir.
and we'll be back next time. Thank you.
See ya.
They are others from another mother. What do we want to say?